My name is Scott Baker. I'm 32 years old, a software architect who specializes in optimizing logistics for construction companies. My family owns Baker and Sons Construction Supply, a respected regional building materials company here in Ohio. On the surface, my life seemed perfect. The next day, I was set to marry Jessica Taylor. This marriage wasn't just about love. It was also a powerful strategic alliance. Jessica's family owned Taylor & Associates Developments, a massive real estate firm and one of our biggest clients. I was the key to modernizing Baker & Sons to seamlessly integrate our systems with theirs. The marriage would seal business ties worth millions. Everyone around us saw it as the ultimate partnership, love and business intertwined. And truthfully, I did love Jessica. I wasn't naive about the business aspects, but I believed we had something real. My trust was my greatest strength, but as I would soon discover, it was also my greatest weakness. You see, I live my life with precision. Every decision is calculated, every step carefully planned. I thought that discipline would protect me. Instead, it became the very tool I would use later when betrayal struck from the last place I expected. It happened the night before the wedding. The Hilton Garden Inn in Columbus was buzzing with final preparations. Guests filled the lobby. The rehearsal dinner had just wrapped up, and the air was thick with excitement. I was at the hotel bar, laughing and talking with a few friends, when Daniel Smith, my best man, my closest friend since college, joined us. Daniel was the life of the party, always quick with a joke. But he had one fatal flaw. He was careless with technology. As a software architect, his sloppy habits always bothered me. He never updated his passwords, never locked his phone, little things that made me shake my head. That night, it became his downfall. Daniel excused himself to use the restroom, leaving his iPhone on the bar table. A notification lit up the screen. Normally, I would have ignored it, but the name that appeared stopped me cold. Jessica. For a moment, I froze, telling myself it had to be something innocent. Maybe wedding logistics, maybe a last-minute detail. But the preview text shattered that illusion. Love what you sent me. My pulse quickened. My gut twisted. Against every instinct screaming at me not to look, I tapped the notification. The message thread opened, and there it was. A video. A shaky, intimate video Daniel himself had recorded. Him and Jessica, together, in her hotel room. My world collapsed in that instant. The laughter in the bar faded to static. The clinking of glasses, the music in the background, it all drowned out as if I'd been dropped underwater. I just sat there, staring at the screen, my mind trying to process the impossible. My fiancé, my best man, the night before my wedding. And in that moment, I knew two things with absolute clarity. First, everything I thought I knew about Jessica and Daniel was a lie. And second, my meticulous, logical nature, the same discipline I'd relied on my whole life, was about to become my greatest weapon. Because if they thought I was going to crumble quietly, they had no idea who they were dealing with. I immediately recognized Jessica's hotel room the moment I walked in. And then I heard the voices, my fiancé, my best friend. Rage erupted inside me like molten lava. My first instinct was to lunge forward, to confront Daniel and make him pay. But a cold, calculating voice in my mind stopped me just in time. It's not worth it. Don't ruin your life for someone like them. With hands trembling but determined, I discreetly copied the file to my own phone before Daniel returned. When he sat down again, smiling casually and joking about the wedding the next day, I forced a mask of normalcy that I didn't even know I could wear. The video, recorded by Daniel himself, apparently for his own amusement, revealed the brutal truth. Jessica and Daniel, together just hours earlier in her hotel room. Less than 12 hours before walking down the aisle, the two people I trusted most had betrayed me in the most intimate, devastating way. Shock and anger transformed into a chilling clarity I had never felt before. My mind, trained to solve complex programming puzzles, immediately began analyzing, strategizing, calculating the perfect plan. I would keep this secret until the altar. The revenge would be public, devastating, technically flawless, and legally safe for me. Looking back, I realized the signs had been there all along. Over the past few months, I noticed subtle changes in Jessica and Daniel's interactions, glances that lingered a fraction too long, conversations that stopped abruptly when I entered the room, small touches I dismissed as harmless. My intuition, usually sharp enough to detect even the tiniest flaw in code, had completely failed me when it came to human deceit. But now exposed, my focus shifted entirely to one goal: executing the perfect revenge. I spent the rest of the night smiling at guests, thanking them for their well wishes, while inside, I was constructing the most important system of my life. It wasn't a program to optimize construction logistics anymore. It was a system to optimize justice. That night, sleep eluded me. While Jessica slept peacefully in her room, confident her secret was safe, I worked with a dedication I had never felt before. Not on code for algorithms or logistics, but on the architecture of my revenge. As a developer, I knew that every system, no matter how complex, depended on meticulous planning, and this would be the most complex, precise system I had ever built. I began by analyzing every conversation between Daniel and Jessica. The message history revealed a pattern. This wasn't a one-time betrayal. Over the past 3 weeks, there were multiple compromising messages, photos, and videos. They had been systematically deceiving me while I planned our Caribbean honeymoon, oblivious to their duplicity. And in that moment, with every detail in my hands, I understood one thing clearly. I would deliver justice, not with rage, not with reckless violence, but with a strategy as perfect as any system I had ever engineered. The countdown to the ultimate revelation had begun. I copied everything to an encrypted cloud drive. Every file, every message, every piece of damning evidence was now under my control. But I didn't just want proof, I wanted maximum impact. My mind began to design the perfect algorithm. The wedding would take place at Riverside Gardens, an elegant venue along the banks of the Scioto River. 200 guests, including the main clients of Baker & Sons and Taylor & Associates, would be in attendance. The ceremony was set for 4 p.m., with live coverage streamed to relatives unable to attend via Facebook. I developed a mass distribution system using my own server infrastructure. I configured a script to simultaneously send the most compromising video to every phone number on the guest list. Timing was everything. The release would coincide precisely with the part of the wedding vows, the moment when the betrayal would hit hardest. I spent the next few hours rigorously testing the system, ensuring flawless execution. Each guest would receive an SMS with a link to view the video, hosted on a temporary server I had created for this very purpose. Technically perfect, legally untouchable. On the morning of the wedding, I woke with an unexpected serenity. I had breakfast at IHOP, as I always did on Saturdays. I read the news in the Columbus Dispatch, answered a few work emails, and carried myself as if it were any other day. In a way, for me, it was. Daniel arrived at the hotel around 10 a.m. to help with preparations. He was euphoric, joking about married life, and claiming I was lucky to have found Jessica. Every word felt like a stab, but I smiled and nodded. "Man, you seem calm for someone getting married in a few hours," Daniel remarked as he adjusted my tie. "You know me," I replied smoothly. "Always good with planning. When you prepare everything right, there's no reason to be nervous." He laughed, oblivious to the layers of meaning in my words. Around noon, my phone rang. Jessica's voice came through, sweet and full of anticipation. "My love, I'm so excited for our ceremony. It will be the most special day of our lives," she said. Her words would be the last genuine words of love I would ever hear from her. "I completely agree," I said, my voice calm. "It will be a day no one will ever forget." She interpreted my words as a romantic promise. Little did she know, it was a promise of a very different kind. By 2 p.m., the guests were already making their way to the venue. My family, the Taylors, coworkers, college friends. Even the governor of Ohio had confirmed his attendance, thanks to the Taylor family's political connections. I performed one final check on my system. Everything was working perfectly. The video had been uploaded. The contact list validated. The timing synchronized perfectly with my watch. I had even built an automatic backup in case anything went wrong. "Ready for this, partner?" Daniel asked, patting me on the shoulder. More than you can imagine, I replied, looking directly into his oblivious eyes. We arrived at Riverside Gardens at 3:30 p.m. The venue was breathtaking. Every detail was meticulously arranged. White and pink flowers adorned the aisle. The altar faced the river with the Columbus skyline in the background, and 200 guests in formal attire filled the perfectly aligned chairs. Reverend Patterson, who had known us since childhood, beamed at the gathering. My mother was already in tears, overwhelmed with emotion. Jessica's father, Robert Taylor, greeted me warmly. "Welcome officially to the family, son," he said. "Thank you, Mr. Taylor," I replied with a carefully measured smile. "I hope our union is everything you expect." There were just 15 minutes until the ceremony began when I saw Jessica at the end of the aisle. She was radiant in her $25,000 Vera Wang wedding dress, her smile bright, her eyes sparkling with excitement. For a fleeting moment, I almost forgot the plan, almost let myself be swept up in the illusion of love. But then my gaze fell on Daniel, standing beside me at the altar, smiling at the woman he had betrayed me with. That sight was a cold, sharp reminder of the truth, and it steeled my resolve. The moment had arrived. The algorithm, my perfectly engineered system of justice, was ready to execute. As the first notes of the wedding music began to play, I felt a surge of anticipation. Every element of my plan was in place. Every second was synchronized. Every detail accounted for. This was no ordinary ceremony. This was the culmination of months of planning, the execution of a revenge so precise it would leave no room for doubt, no chance for escape. The world around me shimmered with beauty and deception alike, and in that duality, I found my focus sharpened. The music swelled. Guests rose. Jessica's footsteps echoed down the aisle, and I waited, calm on the surface, while underneath, the engine of my revenge was already humming, poised to strike. Jessica began her walk toward the altar, smiling as if she were stepping into the start of our life together. I knew differently. I knew this moment would mark the end of everything she thought she had. She reached the altar, her smile radiant, almost blinding in its innocence. Her father placed her hand in mine, tears glistening in his eyes. Reverend Patterson opened the Bible and began the ceremony with a solemn prayer. 200 guests watched us, rapt and respectful. "Dear friends and family," the Reverend began, "we are gathered here today to celebrate the union of Scott and Jessica in holy matrimony." My hands were steady. My heart beat at a controlled, deliberate rhythm. Jessica squeezed my hands, whispering, "I love you," only to me. Daniel, standing beside me, held the rings with an expression of smug pride. The ceremony continued flawlessly for about 15 minutes. Bible readings, reflections on love, promises of lifelong commitment. And then came the moment I had been waiting for, the personal vows. Reverend Patterson handed me the microphone. "Scott, would you like to share your vows with Jessica?" I took a deep breath. It was now or never. "Jessica," I began, my voice clear and steady over the sound system, "I have prepared something very special for this moment." She smiled, expecting words of eternal love. "Last night, I discovered a truth that changed everything." I continued, letting the words hang in the air. "A truth that must be shared with everyone present here." Her smile faltered. A ripple of unease spread through the guests. Some exchanged worried glances, sensing something was wrong. "You and Daniel, my best man, my so-called best friend, you thought I would never find out." At that precise moment, I triggered the script on my phone. Within seconds, every single guest, 200 phones, buzzed with an incoming SMS containing the link to the video. It was like watching a digital virus spread in real time. First, a few phones vibrated, then dozens. Within a minute, nearly every guest was staring at their screens, their expressions shifting from curiosity to horror. I continued speaking, deliberately calm, letting the truth sink in. Daniel was kind enough to document everything for me. Jessica's face turned pale, horror spreading like ink through water. Daniel went white as a sheet. Gasps erupted from the guests. Whispers rippled through the crowd. My God, I heard Jessica's mother murmur. This can't be real. Someone in the front row whispered urgently to their neighbor, eyes wide. Jessica lunged for the microphone. Scott, please, can we discuss this in private? She pleaded, her voice cracking. I pulled back slightly, holding the microphone firmly. No, Jessica, you chose to betray me in secret. I choose to expose it in broad daylight. Daniel finally reacted, his shock mirrored in every line of his face. The carefully constructed illusion of their deceit was collapsing, and there was nothing they could do to stop it. Man, you don't understand. It was just one time. A mistake, Daniel interrupted, desperation in his voice. The message history says otherwise. I replied, my voice calm but cutting. 3 weeks of betrayal, Daniel. 3 weeks of you two laughing at me behind my back. The chaos was complete. Guests stood, some heading toward the exits, others frozen in place, eager to witness the drama unfold. Reverend Patterson stepped forward, trying to regain control. Scott, my son, perhaps it would be best. I interrupted respectfully, holding the microphone firmly. With all due respect, Reverend, I believe this ceremony has come to an end. At that moment, Robert Taylor, Jessica's father, rose from the front row, his face flushed with anger and humiliation. This is ridiculous, he yelled. We're not going to let a misunderstanding destroy years of planning. Scott, you're being irrational. Irrational? I asked calmly, my tone steady. Mr. Taylor, I suggest you watch the video before calling this a misunderstanding. My mother approached the altar, tears streaming down her face. Scott, dear, what's going on? I discovered that Jessica betrayed me with Daniel. I said quietly but firmly. I cannot marry someone who does not respect me. The Taylor family immediately went into damage control mode. Jessica's mother, Patricia, rushed toward the altar. Please, Scott, she pleaded, her voice shaking. Accidents happen. Jessica is pregnant. Think about the baby. Think about our companies. You can overcome this. Her words only confirmed what I had suspected. They were trying to use the pregnancy as emotional manipulation. Interesting, I said into the microphone, letting my voice carry across the crowd. So, there's a baby in the middle of this situation. Jessica began crying uncontrollably. Scott, I can explain, she sobbed. No need to explain, I replied firmly. But I think everyone here deserves to know whose child this really is. Daniel finally spoke, panic creeping into his voice. Bro, this is crazy. You're humiliating all of us. I'm not humiliating anyone, Daniel. I said, my gaze piercing him. You humiliated yourselves. I turned back to Jessica, calm but unwavering. Are you sure you know who the father is? The silence that followed was deafening. Jessica couldn't answer. Her hesitation said everything. I suggest a paternity test, I declared publicly. Let's clear this up once and for all. Robert Taylor exploded in anger. That's enough. If you're destroying 2 respectable families over jealousy. I'm not destroying anything, I interrupted calmly. I'm merely revealing what was already destroyed. At that moment, Jessica collapsed to her knees at the altar, sobbing uncontrollably. I don't know who the baby's father is, she confessed through tears. It could be Daniel's. The silence that followed was absolute. 200 guests processed her words. Daniel stood paralyzed, his face drained of color. The Taylor and Baker families watched their reputations and business alliances crumble in real time. I turned to the guests one last time, speaking into the microphone with calm authority. I apologize to everyone who came here today, expecting a celebration. Unfortunately, I have discovered that I cannot marry someone who does not respect me. Thank you for being here. I turned off the microphone, removed the ring from my finger, and placed it on the altar beside Jessica, who remained kneeling, shattered. Daniel tried to step forward. Scott, man, we can fix this, he pleaded. There's nothing to fix, I replied evenly. You made your choices. Now live with the consequences. I walked away from the altar with my dignity intact, leaving behind only the chaos the truth had revealed. 200 eyes followed me as I exited Riverside Gardens. Some looked at me with pity, others with admiration, and many with shock. I didn't care. I had executed my plan perfectly. I drove to my apartment in Short North, packed my bags methodically, and left Columbus that very night. Not to run away, but to heal, to escape the circus I knew would follow. In the days that followed, as I traveled across the country, the consequences of the exposure unfolded exactly as I had anticipated. My assistant, Sarah, kept me updated via email. The video had spread far beyond the wedding guests, circulating in WhatsApp groups, shared on Facebook, becoming the talk of Columbus. The paternity test I had publicly suggested took place 2 weeks later. Jessica tried to resist, but the combined social and family pressure was too great. Robert Taylor, desperate to salvage whatever remained of his family's reputation, insisted on the test. The result confirmed my suspicions. The results were in. Daniel was the father. Sarah sent me the news by email. Scott, the test came back. You were right. The whole city is talking about it. Taylor and Associates lost 3 major contracts this week. Clients don't want to be associated with the scandal. I felt no pleasure in the news, only relief. The truth had prevailed. During my cross-country trip, I spent a lot of time reflecting on everything. I drove along the Blue Ridge Parkway, explored national parks in Utah, and spent a week in San Diego. Every mile on the road helped me process the betrayal and reconnect with myself. It was in Denver, 3 months after the wedding that never happened, that I reconnected with Emily White. She was attending a tech conference where I had been invited to give a lecture on logistics systems optimization. Emily was a software developer I had known at Ohio State University 15 years ago. Scott Baker, she said, approaching me after my presentation. I can't believe it's you. Emily had always been different, smart, honest, direct. During college, we had some of the deepest conversations about technology and life, though it had never been romantic. I smiled genuinely for the first time in months. What an amazing surprise. That afternoon, we went for coffee. She didn't mention the wedding scandal, though I knew she had probably heard about it. Instead, we talked about work, life, and how much we had changed since college. You seem different, she observed. More mature, like you've been through something transformative. I have, I admitted. I've learned some hard lessons about trust and about who's truly worth having in your life. Emily smiled knowingly. The most important lessons are always the hardest. We began corresponding regularly. Emails, video calls, messages. After 6 months, I decided to move to Denver. Baker and Sons no longer require me physically in Columbus. I had digitized nearly all operations. I could work remotely and consult for other construction companies.